Let's shift our focus to other top stories. Continuing as we speak, the president has given the word. Get rid of Boko Haram in 3 months. The service chiefs moved swiftly to Borno State, the heart of insurgency in the northeast. The big question remains, though, is 3 months enough time to win this war? How possible is this? We met with Senator Shehu Hussaini, representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District. The state itself is not new to terrorist attacks by Boko Haram. He told me that with determination and with the right tactics, victory is sure for the service chiefs and the Nigerian state. I want to thank you so much indeed, Senator Shehu Hussaini, for joining us on State of the Nation. Let's begin with Nigeria's northeast and Boko Haram insurgency there. The Nigerian government has decided to negotiate with Boko Haram. What do you make of this?
Well, thank you very much again. The idea of negotiation did not start with the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. It has been an issue that has been discussed in the last 5 to 6 years. In fact, right from the beginning of the insurgency. And negotiation as an option came up as an alternative to the use of force. Now, if you go backwards and say, where did this idea of negotiation started? Well, this country has been battling with an insurgency that has consumed thousands of lives, threatening our peace, threatening our democracy, and threatening our national unity. Well, in any nation that is faced with this kind of insurgency, what the government of that country need to do is to protect its citizens, protect lives, properties, and livelihood. And this exactly has been the option in the last 6 to 7 years.
Do you support it, though?
But yes, I support it. We need to, as a state, protect our people, protect our nation, and ensure that those who took up the arms to fight us will also be faced with our resistance and our fight. But the options of dialogue came up as an alternative to the use of force, or as another option. When you use force, and now you need to open a window and to see how perhaps some persons, moderates within the insurgency, could take it up, and then we can minimize the bloodshed and the violence that has been raging over the years, and that is opening a window for those of them who can take the opportunity to put down their arms.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has given the service chiefs 3 months to rout Boko Haram. As a matter of fact, to defeat Boko Haram. Do you think this time frame is adequate enough to accomplish this?
Well, going by his profile as a military man, and by his also profile as someone who was once a governor in that part of the country, and someone who has also fought a war, I know his statement can't just simply be a political statement.
But what do you think?
From my own point of view, his statement gives hopes and boosts the morale of the military, and also gives the Nigerians a source of confidence that now we have someone who is determined to eradicate insurgency. But what I will have to draw a caution is that we are dealing with an insurgency that is adopting a guerrilla attack and also sending suicide bombers to our cities. And going by experiences of what is happening in the Middle East, in countries like Pakistan, Yemen, Afghanistan, and also with insurgency experiences in places like Algeria and Colombia, and setting a date comes with a lot of risk, and putting your credibility on the line in the sense that if it turns out well, and we will all be glad, but if it turns out others, and there are certainly people who are going to make political capital out of it.
What must be done to compel Boko Haram to become more visible in order to carry out these expected negotiations?
Well, for a successful negotiation, what is needed first and foremost, that there should be willingness of both sides to negotiate. The Boko Haram must be ready to take the dialogue option and must publicly make such pronouncement. And also the government, if it accepts such dialogue option, it should also know it comes with a price of making concession. That is one. Secondly, going by what has happened in the past, we have to make sure that the channel of dialogue is credible. A number of times there have been issues of dialogue that have been raised, but mostly end up as scams, and that should be taken care of. And thirdly, we actually need whoever is going to facilitate that dialogue process, or is going to be an arbiter, must be someone who is also ready to see to the implementation of the terms of that dialogue, and that person must be credible enough. And then lastly, we should know that when you come to the table for dialogue, you are coming with an open mind. You don't come with a fixated mind. The demands which the insurgents may make may be so unreasonable or unrealistic, but you should be ready to listen to it. And then, on the last note, when you talk of negotiation, you are talking of a state sitting down with a group that is tagged a terror group, and that for you to achieve success in that, there must be sincerity on both sides. And we should also know that sitting down to dialogue with the terror group is not something that is new if Nigeria decides to do it. The United States has sat down and talked with the Taliban in Qatar, and Israel has sat down and talked with Hamas, and both countries consider those groups as terror groups.
When you hear the revelations from Boko Haram members that were captured by the government forces in their exploits, does it give you any ray of hope that this insurgency is anywhere coming to a close?
Well, we've been through so many things in the last 6 to 7 years, to the point that we are reaching a point where you will say seeing is believing. And if you look at it clearly, there is nothing wrong with sitting down to talk, as long as there are things which you make a caveat on it, and that is that the sanctity of Nigeria as a secular state must remain, and that not an inch of Nigeria's territory will be considered to the terror group. And then they should also be made very clear.
Fiscal Commission approved this for them. So we don't have problem about this. You can raise the issue about whether it is too high, whether they can justify giving their productivity, whether they deserve this. But we don't have a problem with that. One problem we have, though, is that they just pay tax on their basic salary, which is pretty low. Because the allowances they get, for instance, for the senators, the allowances is 870% of their basic salary. Yet, those allowances are never taxed, which means they are paying very little tax for all the allowances that they get, ranging from wardrobe allowances to constituency allowances to recess allowances, all manner of allowances, newspapers and periodical allowance. And you just wonder whether they buy the papers at all. So they just get all these allowances and then pay nothing.
Do you think that this is a corrupt practice by members of the National Assembly?
Well, we think some of those allowances are wrong. For instance, I give you an example. At a point in when the country, in 2007, between 2007 and 2008, the REMFAC itself realized that some of these allowances needed to be reviewed. For instance, the wardrobe allowance. So they recommended that lawmakers should no longer take wardrobe allowance, that rather those who should take wardrobe allowance should be the speaker, the deputy speaker, the Senate president, and the deputy Senate president, because then they will just buy the robes that they wear to preside over sittings for them, and that will be all. We need to demand accountability, because look, you are bothered about the salaries and allowances. What about the budget? Do you know, you don't know how this, in the past, since 2011, they've taken 150 billion as first line charge from the budget. 150 billion is what they take from the budget. So, and they don't explain how they spend it. They don't retire it. They just take it in bulk and spend it. They don't tell you, and that was not the case before David Mark became Senate President. Before he became Senate President, if you pick up the Nigerian budget or the Appropriation Act, you see details of expenses by the National Assembly. You see how much they are paying to workers of the National Assembly Service Commission. You see how many cars they are buying. You see what house they are renovating and all of that.
So what's your final word?
My final word is that Nigeria must compare these guys to tell us how they spend huge allocations to the National Assembly. They must let us know how much they earn in salaries and allowances. They must tell us how much they earn in illegal allowances every quarter.
I want to thank you so much indeed for spending your time and your thoughts here on State of the Nation.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The lawmakers are in recess at the moment. Will it matter to them to review the minimum wage of 18,000 naira? We'll leave you to ponder on this. I am Gimba Umar. This is State of the Nation.